So before I forget, I'm just going to make sure that everyone can hear me. So confirmation in chat. All you beautiful people doing nothing here tonight. Hopefully you're hearing me loud and clear. All right, so I got a thumbs up from Chris and Jillian. Hello, Jillian, Schmitty. All right. So if you have never been here before, you are here, or where you are, I guess, is wherever you are. But this space that we're in is the Do Nothing Project. One thing, if you've never been here before, I want to ensure that you keep your expectations low. So we go for sort of low production value, and in order to really bring home the delightful beingness that it is to be in this creaturely body. I am not our regularly scheduled host. That is the great and wonderful Jeff Warren. Thank you again to Jeff for getting me in a position to be guest hosting tonight. And then the other thing is, this is a bit of a redo from 2 weeks ago. So I'm wearing my same shirt, and I rotate my flags, but I left up the Wales flag. So it sort of is a redo for what was a shortened sit 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. I guess that's the 15th. And that was where I gave a prompt to explore this, and then was promptly cut off. Power and everything else in my house was gone for a couple minutes, and then came back. And by the time everything came back, I couldn't get the live stream back up again. So apologies for that last time. But those sort of things happen. They have happened on the Do Nothing Project. So they're just part of, I guess it's part of practice. So, and then one astute person mentioned to me in Instagram, the pizza monster here, nothing can stop the pizza monster. So I just want to thank you for noticing that last time. I appreciated that. So what our format is, or where we're headed, we'll do a 25-minute sit together that is something, but mostly nothing, capped off with nurture positive practice at the end, or a friendliness practice. I'll give a little bit of sort of framing about what we're gonna do in the sit, or why I decided to put together this meditation, and then after that we'll do a little bit of reports and things like that. And so I'm a certified meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System. So I'm looking more for reports than I'm answering or offering responses to sort of more of the questions that we would save or reserve for Jeff. Today, this is in essence the same meditation that I had talked about 2 weeks ago. And so it's a meditation that I'd come up with as sort of a self-intervention for my situation, where I'd noticed that I'd started to have this sort of inflexibility or stickiness around situations where I'd be working, much like the presentation that we're in right now. I'm working on a screen, I'm doing something, and then I would move from sort of one screen to another screen to another screen. And in doing that, my consciousness was trying to help me by not expanding as I switched between screens, maybe is one way to think about it. But what that meant was I was almost conditioning narrowing. And that narrowing, and then I was sort of helping keep that narrowing, or maybe you can think of it from the blinders perspective of a horse having blinders. I was sort of keeping the blinders on, and what that meant was that I wasn't able to flip between a more wider, big picture view, and then back down to a narrow, more focused, detailed sort of view. So sort of that I wasn't doing this sort of back and forth. And so in noticing that, I was trying to come up with something that might help me decondition that, or to sort of use a meditation technique to try to flip out that more expanded panoramic sort of perspective. So what we'll do is a sort of settling in. So we'll do a bit of what we would normally do, and sort of gathering up of our axis concentration, getting our concentration skill in position. and then maybe tracking a bit of our real-time experience, the clarity aspect, and then looking at expanding our attention. So settle, expand, and then we'll do a do nothing practice where we're just coasting, sort of letting go of all of the technique. And so that, and then that sort of aspect of we've been able to maybe get a little bit more settled, a little more still. Then in that stillness, in that spot that we've cultivated, we're able to look at exploring just from an experimentation perspective, if we can expand our attention. If we can't, no big deal. And then sort of after we've played with that, we've efforted a bit, we've sort of pedaled uphill, we'll just go ahead and coast into the end, which is our nurture positive practice. So I did see a question. I'd mentioned, maybe I may be using lingo and such, but what am I asking you to report? So in that situation, what I mean there is just what was it like for you? So for the give and sit, what was it like for you? So was it hard? Was it easy? Were you able to follow the guidance? Was there anything that was confusing from that standpoint? So hopefully that helps. So let me just check in quick with chat and see. Okay, so I think you can hear me. I'm pretty sure you can see me. Hopefully the video quality is decent. And then I think we're set up to do our sit. If not, last chance to stop me before we start. All right, so Lawrence says everything's good. I'm going with everything's good. All right, so this will be, it's 7 minutes past the hour. Will be about 25, maybe 26 minutes. So that'll take us to about 32 minutes past the hour. And if you're just joining, you're just in time. All right, here we go. So as always with the Do Nothing Project, if you have your own practice, you are more than welcome to go ahead and do that. You can just consider the prompts, and what I'm offering is invitations to experiment and explore and let them be in the background. And also, if you are doing a more active sit, so maybe you're doing an activity and you're here for the gathering in the community, you can always just let the guidance be in the background while you're doing what you're doing. So as we start out, I like to go through a bit of a pre-flight checklist, although we will not be doing any flying. And for me, I just use a little 3-letter mnemonic to help me with this. And so it's PTC. So posture, tension, calm. So for the posture, we're looking to adopt a comfortable posture that will allow us to be relatively still. And we're looking to be upright. The spine is long, but not efforting, not straining. And of course, you could be lying down or standing. So that's the posture element. And the reason this matters is that the way that we sit can help us in fostering a relaxed, alert quality of mind. And once we're situated, sort of checking in and seeing if we can see any tension or holding that we may have as we begin the sit. So we may do kind of a torso check. So seeing if there's any tension in the forehead, maybe around the eyes, the jaw, the neck, the shoulders. And seeing if in noticing maybe there's a progressive relaxing or lightening of the tenseness. Just seeing where that's at, maybe giving a sort of rise of the shoulders and then letting them drop. And then the calming element here is really tuning into the exhale part of the breath. As Jeff says, sort of cluing into that downward motion. So as we inhale, we may feel a little bit of a lifting in the spine or the torso, and then there's a downward and settling motion to that exhale. So accentuating that downward motion. And in doing that, we may want to take a few breaths, breathing as low into the torso as possible and as slow as possible. So breathing down into the lower parts of the lungs. And doing it in a pace that helps us naturally fill the lungs. In a sort of low and slow tempo. Continuing to accentuate that exhale. And then if you have congestion or maybe a nasal blockage that makes it hard for you to do that through the nose, you could always modify and use a technique that's called straw breathing. So it's a pursing of the lips as though you were drinking from a straw, and breathing in and out just as a sort of regulation approach, regulating just to get that low and slow action. So we can set this spot right here as a waypoint. So if you want, you can stay here in this simple open stance. And this in itself is a complete practice. And so again, you can choose to hang out here and know that in setting this as a point for us, a waypoint, we can return to it at any time during the practice. As we start out in this settle phase of our sit, Just want to choose a sensation that'll help us in that settling. So you could choose to focus on the breath if that's something that you can get into. Looking for that sort of into quality of being connected with what we're focusing on. But the breath isn't for everyone. So maybe it's the sensations around the breath in the torso, or the settling of the body in the posture as we breathe, focusing on the weight as we sort of progressively settle in. And here we can choose a home base. So if you have a home base that's not what I mentioned, you can do that here too. Part of our stance here is this openness to what's going on, no big deal quality, and knowing that our mind will wander and we'll bring it back. It wanders, we bring it back. So explore this for a while. So again, we know that there's a high likelihood that we're going to wander and lose focus. And each time we do, that's a chance for us to flex this equanimity muscle. And in doing that, when we see that we've lost contact or our attention is far away from where we were focused, there's an opportunity to bring a care and kindness to bringing our attention back. There may arise a sort of frustration or a sort of tone of disappointment, sort of yet again. That's natural. And just knowing that we can begin again. So it's equanimity and care in this situation. Let's shift our attention now that we're settled in a bit, even if we're not settled in as much as we'd like to be. There's a bit of a settling. And see if we can expand our attention a bit. So we're looking to sort of widen the attention from where we've been very focused in our posture and the situation that the body is in. And see if we can choose to focus on the sense of the space around us at the moment. So you might be in a room like I am. And there's a bodily sense of being within a room. Or maybe you're on a porch, so there may be more spaciousness in one direction as opposed to another. Or maybe you're outside and there's just sort of spaciousness in all directions but down. Let's see if we can connect to that sense. And that may be a felt sense, or maybe it's a sense that you're getting from the sounds around you, how the sound travels around you. Either one works, or either one can work. So try this for a little bit. So if none of that space stuff is available for you, it's totally okay too. So if you're comfortable working with sounds, see if you can shift to sounds, but when you hear a sound, see if you can hear the sound where the sound's coming from. So the sound isn't arriving at you, you're sort of hearing the sound from where it's coming from, the direction or the location, where it's happening. So see if you can connect with any of these options. I'll check in a bit. All right, here it is. So at this point, we pedaled our mental meditation bike up to this point, and we're at the top of the hill. And at this point, we can just coast. So let go of all the expansion and space and calming, and just coast. And just knowing when we let go, sometimes we want to pick things back up. And we might feel like we're off track or we're not doing it right or we don't want to let go. Those are all normal reactions. Just knowing that that's okay. And then coming back to seeing if we can let go. Just be. Just this. Just sitting here. Doing nothing. So in about a minute, we'll finish with our friendliness practice. About another minute here. So as we do, we finish with a friendliness practice, or Shinzen's system as nurture positive. And the practice that I chose is one that's sometimes shorthand referred to as a benefactors or contemplating benefactors practice. And in the version I'm offering, very heavily cribbing and stealing from Sharon Salzberg. So see if you can bring to mind someone who has directly or indirectly benefited your meditation practice. So this might have been someone who recommended a book, or a friend who went to your first meditation sit with you. Someone who told you you should chill out and meditate. And so anyone who's benefited directly or indirectly. And see if you can visualize them in front of you if your eyes are closed. Or recall the sound of their voice. Or combine the two into a sort of mental image, mental sound representation. Whatever is alive for you. And as you do that, see if you can offer them gratitude for this contribution that they've made, knowingly or unknowingly. Offer them thanks. And as we do this, we may notice that more than one person comes to mind. If so, that's great. See if you can shift to that next person that came to mind. Again, whatever's available for you, if it's an ability to visualize them, hearing their sound of the sound of their voice, combination of bringing forth as vivid and rich an image or sound image combination as you can. Maybe offering them your thanks, a hug, a deep humanity's bow, acknowledging the goodness of their contribution. And then sort of shifting, recall or think about individuals who may have directly or indirectly contributed to you being here tonight. Sort of the calls and conditions. Mary Oliver says, this one wild and crazy life. All those things that came together for you to be here on YouTube, listening to a guy in a pizza shirt talk about gratitude. As people come to mind, you can offer these thanks and rapid fire if you want. So you get a thanks, and you get a thanks, you get a thanks. And then in a sort of bringing together of everyone that has come to mind, if you can visualize them all together, which is harder to do, or all of their voices, sort of coming together of all these benefactors of your practice, giving them a wholehearted, as big as possible thank you. So we'll transition here into the sort of final bit. So just taking your time and begin the process. In a moment here, I'm gonna ring the bell a single time. My part, that practice, I try to give my appropriate hat tip to Sharon Salzberg, and the very first one-day retreat that I was on was a Sharon Salzberg sort of weekend here in Tucson. It was the first time she'd visited Tucson, and she did this benefactors practice, and it was. It sounds funny for me to say this because I don't know, it sounds like a little too, people that say this, it's very spiritual, but it was really a rich thing for me to think about sort of all the people that kind of incrementally moved me in a direction that I was like in this seat at a university lecture hall and meditating with Sharon Salzberg, and the sort of these small contributions that were along the way. So just to share a story, Jeff made a call for people that knew how to edit video and would help out with the Do Nothing project. And I was sort of emboldened by a friend who said, there's not much to video editing and you can figure it out, kind of in giving me permission. And in doing that, that was sort of removed a barrier for me that I would reach out to Jeff and to Lily and be like, yeah, I can edit video. And in doing that. And so these like little things, that causes and conditions that lead up to, me being here in a pizza shirt, talking to people about benefactors and gratitude. So I feel like now more than ever, that connection to it takes a village to raise a meditation practice is really helpful in like that almost a rerouting of the stability that we need at this time. So anyway, I wanted to share that. So I'll do my best. And then the other thing too, I'll just pre-apologize. I also have waning eyesight, so you'll see me squinting, and that does not mean I'm angry or upset by anything. It just means that I probably should have glasses. Marsha, that was great. I think it is Marsha Sherry. Let's see here. Okay, Lauren, wonderful. Thank you. So I think I've been frozen a few times, and I think I'm on Costa Rica quality, video quality right now. So I apologize for that. All right, so Joanne, that was really great. Lauren, you like the benefactor view. That's great. I really, in trying to sort of share a scope of that benefactor practice, it's a kind of a helpful thing to come back to. I will come back to it just because of how far I feel like how many people have contributed to my practice in like a 10 or 11 year sort of span. And then there's sort of like the people that contributed to my practice before I knew I was going to be a meditator. Like that is another sort of aspect as well. So. Okay, so Deb, tending toward that narrowing down so much. So I may have said this before. If I'm repeating myself, I'm a software engineer, a software programmer, and we can become so focused in what we're trying to do and in the sort of quote unquote problems that we're trying to solve, that we don't see that there's a solution that sort of is adjacent to where we're focusing, and that narrowness can really lead to us sort of spending a lot more time on something that we really should, or well, that's a judgment in and of itself, but we spend more time on it than we would if we could be able to sort of flip out this more wider, holistic view. So, Susan, glad that you liked it. Oh, it jumped around. Okay. So Amy, so I suck at remembering who has led me to good things in my life. Even if not, I know that I'm not remembering some of those people, but there sort of is, as I revisit that practice, people pop out, and that's the pop out of people that I didn't remember or can't remember their name. I don't know, for me, it's almost a delight. It's a sort of little delight. So. All right. So now I'm also, as the person who does a lot of chat moderation, this is an opportunity for me to appreciate the uh, this aspect of things as well. So all right. So Jeff McPhee, that was relaxing as shit. That's great to hear, Jeff. Oh, and thank you. Cool. I'm glad it's good to hear that this is calming. And then the transitions, I don't write my meditations as much as I probably should. And this meditation may have benefited from the fact that it couldn't be delivered 2 weeks ago, because I went back to it and did transition kind of practices. So thank you for that. It helps me remind myself I need to do that. All right, so Saban as well, liking the benefactor practice again. Hopefully I have appropriately given as much credit as possible to Sharon on that. So. Okay, great. So Jackie, calming practice. This is excellent. Okay, so I'm really happy again to Jeff. So much gratitude in getting the opportunity to sort of be Joan Rivers to your Johnny Carson. I really appreciate that, and then to Lily and Milin as always, and to the whole community. One of the things I thought about today is I was going to miss the connection in chat, not being able to be as focused on chat, and so I thought that was a kind of interesting thing to check in with. So there is that sort of connection, and so I really appreciate that more now than ever. So awesome. So again, thank you so much for checking in and spending quality time on this Sunday night. It's such a delight for me. I really have no words. So thank you again, and we will see you next Sunday.